I mean, if people don't go to jail for this, then you got to lose all hope in humanity.
Today, we are listing names on who are being prosecuted. We stand united to expose those at the highest levels of our federal institutions, specifically USAID and all fraudulent people within the government who've scammed hardworking taxpayers out of billions of dollars. With liberty and justice for all, let's get into who's accountable and who's going to jail for wasting the taxpayer dollars of the hardworking people of this nation. Starting off, we have Hampton Dellinger. Hampton Dellinger was and still is a deputy assistant under President Biden that Trumps now want fired. He wore the red, white, and blue of public service. Tasked with legal policy, he was meant to guard our treasury. But whispers of corruption suggest he failed to stop funds from slipping away. Just watch this.
And here's what happened. So Trump is asking the Supreme Court to allow him to fire this independent agency leader. He's at the office of the special counsel. His name is Hampton Dellinger. And the argument from the Solicitor General is this: until now, as far as we are aware, no court in American history has wielded an injunction to force the president to retain an agency head.
This betrayal demands he face justice immediately after being fired. Thorough investigation will be put in place once this reaches the Supreme Court. Stacey Abrams, the Georgia Democrat who's been in the spotlight lately. She's a big deal, but now she's tangled up in this crazy DOGE findings mess, and people are not having it. Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency dug into some taxpayer funds and found $2 billion sent to this nonprofit called Power Forward Communities. And guess what? It's got Stacey's fingerprints all over it. This nonprofit was pretty much brand new. It had like $100 in the bank when the Biden EPA dropped a massive $2 billion grant on them back in 2024 for some green energy project. And here's where it gets even more sus. Stacey's been a huge cheerleader for Biden's green policies, and she's got deep ties to his admin. Folks are raising eyebrows, wondering if this was just a sweet deal for a political buddy. She's also connected to other orgs like Rewiring America. Now, Trump's EPA boss, Lee Zeldin, is on it saying, hold up, this doesn't add up. They're investigating whether this was legit or if it's straight up corruption or fraud, and if she's going to prison. Let's shine a spotlight on the CDC, caught red-handed as well in the DOGE findings. According to Representative Thomas Massie, back in 2021, they got a cool $1 billion from a stimulus bill, not for health breakthroughs, but for a PR blitz to hype up COVID-19 vaccines. Where'd that money go? It did end up in the pockets of social media giants, TV networks, or shady private firms. The Department of Government Efficiency is sniffing around, and if this cash was funneled to cronies or wasted on propaganda instead of real science, heads need to roll. The culprits behind this CDC bullshit of Biden-era appointees who signed off should really be sweating. Jail time's on the table if they scammed taxpayers to push a narrative. Justice demands it. Samantha Power, once USAID's leader under Biden, should have been a beacon of hope for global aid. Yet, accusations paint her as complicit in a scandal, siphoning millions and millions of dollars from American taxpayer pockets. As a government official, she swore to protect our interests. Now, criminal charges loom if she ignored or enabled this treachery. As the administrator of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, from May 2021 to January 2025, Samantha Power held the top leadership position within the agency, overseeing its mission to advance U.S. foreign economic and development assistance policies. Her responsibilities encompassed both strategic and financial aspects, particularly in the formulation and execution of the agency's budget and financial management. Her key financial responsibilities in prominent positions within the U.S. federal government with the USAID involves budget formulation and execution. Samantha was highly responsible for developing and implementing USAID's budget, ensuring alignment with U.S. foreign policy objectives. In fiscal year 2025, under her leadership, USAID requested $28.3 billion to support initiatives aimed at enhancing global food security, health systems, economic growth, and addressing humanitarian crises. Oversight of financial assistance programs. She supervised the allocation of funds across various programs, ensuring effective use of resources in areas such as disaster relief, economic development, and health interventions. This included managing financial aid to support infrastructure projects, educational programs, and health services in developing countries, which she has done extremely poorly. Power was also tasked with maintaining transparency and accountability in the disbursement of funds. This involved implementing measures to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse, and ensuring that financial resources were used efficiently to achieve USAID's objectives. She worked closely with the US Congress, which is full of fraudulent scammers, the Department of State, and other governmental and non-governmental organizations to secure funding and support for USAID's programs. This collaboration was essential for aligning USAID's financial strategies with broader US foreign policy goals. Trump will hold her accountable for the trust we placed in her, and the money that was Isabel Coleman, Deputy Administrator for Policy at USAID, carried the responsibility to steer our aid with honor. But reports of financial mismanagement under her watch fly in the face of our flag's values. If she crafted policies that let taxpayer funds vanish, she must answer to the people through legal scrutiny to restore our nation's integrity. She's also on the list of people being investigated. Paloma Adams-Allen, overseeing USAID's budget as Deputy Administrator for Management, was our sentinel for fiscal responsibility, yet allegations suggest millions disappeared on her watch. If she mismanaged or misallocated our hard-earned dollars, justice demands she face the courts. Let's not forget about the elephant in the room, Nancy Pelosi's with her notorious financial dealings.
Just look at Nancy Pelosi's insider trading deals. It is insider trading, and she keeps making up hundreds of millions of dollars. So do dozens of other congressmen and women.
We have the situation where Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, who's known for making some pretty big moves in the stock market. And that's where things get spicy. There have been these instances where his trades seem a little too aligned and a tad bit too perfect with legislative actions or big government announcements. Take Nvidia, for example. There was this buzz around the time when legislation was in the works to boost domestic semiconductor production, and bam, Paul Pelosi swoops in with some Nvidia stock. Coincidence? Then you've got the Visa situation. Right before the Department of Justice drops this bombshell antitrust lawsuit on Visa, Paul Pelosi sells a chunk of his shares. Again, the timing is what is just so obvious, she needs to be prosecuted immediately. Even Trump said it himself.
And Nancy Pelosi has a little problem because her husband sold their Visa stock. They had a lot of Visa stock one day before Visa was announced that Visa is being sued by the Department of Justice. You think it was luck? I don't think. She should be prosecuted. Nancy Pelosi should be prosecuted for that.
Her office has been pretty vocal about the fact that she doesn't own stocks and isn't involved in her husband's trading decisions. There have been calls for new laws, or at least amendments to the Stock Act to prevent these kinds of situations. And you can see why. The public trust is at stake here. It's not just about legality, it's about perception, ethics, and ensuring that our elected officials are playing by the rules of fairness. She needs to go to jail. Michael McCaul is another government representative clown. Michael McCaul's actions shock all senses of fairness. Right before the TikTok ban, he bought $700,000 of Meta stock before voting yes on the TikTok ban bill. Suggests a conflict of interest perhaps? Not directly at USAID, but his trades question his loyalty to American people, and it shows that corruption has been widespread during the Biden administration. He must face probes for insider trading, proving our representatives serve us, not their wallet. There are more. And so we have Crooked Joe, our former commander-in-chief, allegedly just scammed $20 billion of taxpayer money just before leaving office.
Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, someone New Yorkers know well from his close run at the governorship against Kathy Hochul in the last election, discovered a $20 billion slush fund that the Biden administration created under the Inflation Reduction Act that was actually parked at a private bank, which I've learned is Citibank, was collecting interest for Citibank and is now being distributed with no proper oversight.
As the heart of our government, he set the tone for agencies like USAID. If true, this betrayal demands legal and moral accountability, ensuring our nation's resources fuel freedom, not fraud. Even Joe Biden needs to be prosecuted, even though he doesn't know that he's alive.